Every spring, the same ritual. You drive to the nursery, walk past rows of glossy potted perennials, pick the ones with the brightest blooms and the healthiest leaves, bring them home, nestle them into your containers, and for about 6 weeks everything looks perfect. Then July hits, the leaves yellow, the flowers thin out. By September, the plant that was supposed to come back forever looks exhausted, and you are standing there wondering what you did wrong. Here is what nobody at that nursery ever explained to you. The perennials that thrive in garden beds and the perennials that thrive in pots are not the same list. A container is not a miniature garden. It is a completely different environment. The soil heats up faster. The roots have nowhere to escape to. The drainage is sharper. The freeze-thaw cycle in winter is more brutal. A plant that tolerates those conditions is not just lucky, it is specifically adapted to them. And once you understand which plants actually want to live in a pot, everything changes. Today I am giving you 9 perennials that genuinely prefer container life. Plants that bloom longer, grow fuller, and survive winter more reliably when their roots are confined. The 5th one on this list is practically unkillable, and I mean that literally. Before we go further, I want you to do one thing. Drop your USDA hardiness zone in the comments below. Just the number. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps me understand exactly where you are gardening, so I can tailor what I cover to your conditions. You are watching Timeless Harvest. Let us get into the first plant. Plant number 1. Russian Sage. If you have ever driven through a dry western landscape in late summer and seen a cloud of lavender blue hovering above silver foliage, you have seen Russian Sage. This plant evolved on the arid steppes of Central Asia, shaped by conditions that would destroy most garden perennials. Thin, rocky soil, brutal sun, months without rain, those origins are exactly what make it exceptional in a container. The root system of Russian Sage actively resents wet feet. In a garden bed with heavy soil, winter moisture sits around the crown and slowly rots it. This is why so many gardeners plant it, watch it thrive for a year, and then find it dead the following spring. In a container with proper drainage and a well-structured potting mix, you eliminate that problem entirely. Water flows through quickly. The roots stay dry when they need to stay dry. The plant performs exactly as it evolved to perform. The variety I recommend for pots is Little Spire. It stays compact at about 2 feet tall, which means it does not flop over the sides the way taller varieties can. The silvery foliage is aromatic, with a scent somewhere between sage and lavender, and the purple-blue flower spikes appear in midsummer and hold through September. Bees work those flowers obsessively. You will see bumblebees clinging to the tiny tubular blooms every afternoon. Full sun is non-negotiable. It wants heat, wants light, wants to be baked. Water it deeply when you first transplant it, then let the soil go nearly dry before you water again. Do not fertilize it. Russian sage in rich soil grows leggy and weak. This plant has spent thousands of years adapting to lean conditions, and it will give you its best performance when you stop trying to help it. Plant number 2, Lavender Hidcote. I am including lavender here because leaving it off a list of container perennials would be like leaving tomatoes off a list of summer vegetables. It belongs. The variety matters enormously. Hidcote is a compact English lavender that stays at about 12 to 18 inches, forming a dense rounded mound of silvery green foliage. The flower spikes are short, thick, and deeply purple, almost navy blue in certain light. The fragrance is more intense than most other varieties because the essential oils are concentrated in a smaller plant mass. Its compact size means it does not outgrow the pot within 2 seasons, which is a common problem with larger lavender varieties that get woody and leggy when confined. Its cold hardiness goes down to zone 5, handling winter in a container better than more tender French or Spanish lavenders that often die over winter even in the ground. The single most important care instruction is this: do not water on a schedule. Do not say I will water my containers every Tuesday. That is exactly how you kill lavender. Let the soil go dry, then water deeply, then let it go dry again. That dry soak dry cycle mimics the Mediterranean conditions this plant evolved for. And here is an additional benefit worth mentioning. Lavender produces volatile oils that mosquitoes and aphids actively avoid. Placing a pot of Hidcote near your outdoor seating area is not just beautiful, it is functional. Plant number 3, Catmint. If there were an award for the most indestructible perennial, Catmint would be on the shortlist. This is not the weedy catnip that takes over garden beds. It is a well-behaved mounding perennial with soft gray-green foliage and spikes of lavender blue flowers that begin in late spring and do not stop until frost. The variety I recommend for containers is Walker's Low, Despite the name, it grows about 18 to 24 inches tall and spreads into a broad fountain shape that cascades gently over the rim of a pot. It was named Perennial Plant of the Year in 2007 for good reason. It handles drought, heat, poor soil, and outright neglect. When the first flush fades, a quick shear of the entire plant by about a third triggers a complete second bloom within 3 weeks. That is the only maintenance it requires all season. One haircut. Beyond that, you water it occasionally, and otherwise leave it alone. Pollinators treat this plant like a gas station on a long highway. Bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds all stop to refuel throughout the day. Full sun, well-draining soil, and a dose of forgetfulness. That is the care regimen. Plant number 4. Sedum angelina. Sedums are built for container life because they are succulents, storing water in their leaves and stems for extended dry periods. Angelina is a low-growing ground cover sedum with needle-like foliage that emerges chartreuse in spring, turns golden yellow through summer, and develops orange and amber tips in autumn when temperatures drop. In a container, Angelina functions as a spiller. It cascades over the edge and softens the rim, creating that lush, overflowing look that makes container plantings feel established. It grows about 4 inches tall and spreads to about 18 inches, which means one small plant covers a surprising amount of surface area by midsummer. The flowers are tiny yellow stars that appear in early summer, but the foliage is the real show. That color holds from spring through fall, and in mild winters it stays evergreen. Hardy in zones 5 through 9, it handles full sun and thrives in heat. The only thing it will not tolerate is soggy soil. As long as the pot drains well, Angelina asks for nothing else. Plant number 5. Yarrow. This is the plant I said was practically unkillable, and I chose that word carefully. Yarrow grows along roadsides across North America, in gravel, in compacted soil, in conditions where almost nothing else survives. It has been used medicinally for centuries, and in a container it performs with a reliability that borders on stubborn. The variety I recommend for pots is Moonshine. It forms a compact clump of feathery silver-gray foliage that looks almost fern-like, and the flower heads are broad, flat plates of sulfur yellow on stiff stems about 18 inches tall. The blooms appear in early summer and hold for weeks. Cut the spent stems back to the basal foliage, and the plant produces a second round in early autumn. Yarrow evolved in open meadows and dry slopes, which means it expects lean soil and sharp drainage. Rich potting mix and heavy fertilizer push weak, floppy growth. Give it full sun, water deeply but infrequently, and let it do what it has been doing along highways and in abandoned fields for thousands of years. Plant number 6. Coral bells. I am including coral bells because the foliage options available now are unlike anything that existed 20 years ago. Breeders have developed varieties in colors from deep burgundy to caramel to electric lime, and those leaves hold their color from spring through late autumn. In a container, coral bells function as the anchor. The foliage mound sits at the base of taller plants like Russian sage or catmint, covering the soil and providing a continuous block of color that makes the whole arrangement look intentional. The variety I recommend for containers is Palace Purple. It has large maple-shaped leaves in a deep bronze purple that darkens in shade and takes on reddish highlights in sun. The underside of each leaf is a contrasting pinkish magenta that catches the light when the wind moves through. Tiny bell-shaped pink flowers rise on slender stems in early summer, but the foliage is the reason you grow this plant. Here is what makes it genuinely lazy. Once established, coral bells ask for almost nothing. No deadheading, no staking, no dividing for years. They simply sit there, a permanent splash of color that gets better with each season. They appreciate partial shade, which works in your favor because shaded containers dry out slower, meaning you water less often. A pot of Palace Purple on a covered porch or a patio corner with morning sun and afternoon shadow will thrive with almost no intervention. That is no maintenance container gardening. A plant that wants the conditions you already have and does not ask you to change a thing. Plant number 7. Creeping Jenny. Most trailing plants used in containers are annuals. You buy them in May, they spill beautifully over the rim through September, and then they die. Creeping Jenny breaks that cycle. It is a hardy perennial ground cover with small round leaves the color of green apple candy. In a container, it cascades over the edge in long strands that can reach 2 feet by the end of the season. The foliage stays bright through summer heat and into autumn, when it sometimes takes on a yellowish tinge before going dormant. Hardy in zones 3 through 9, it survives winter in a container with no special protection in most climates. In spring, new growth emerges from the crown, and the plant fills out again. Creeping Jenny grows in sun or shade, though the brightest chartreuse develops in partial to full sun. In deep shade, the leaves shift to a darker green that is still attractive but less eye-catching. It likes consistent moisture and will wilt visibly when too dry. Water it, and it perks up within hours. One plant in a 12-inch container will trail down the sides within a single season. Plant number 8, ornamental oregano. This is not the oregano you cook with, though it is a close relative. The variety Kent Beauty produces cascading stems covered in overlapping bracts that look like pale green hops tinged with pink and purple. The bracts appear in midsummer and hold their color for weeks, long after the tiny true flowers have faded. In a container, this plant functions as a dramatic spiller. The stems arch outward and downward, and the bracts catch the light in a way that makes the whole pot look intricate and unusual. It thrives in full sun with sharp drainage, and like lavender and Russian sage, it resents wet winter soil. A container with excellent drainage holes solves that problem completely. Kent Beauty is hardy to zone 6 with some winter protection. In colder zones, overwinter it in a garage or shed, where temperatures stay above freezing but below 40 degrees. This is the plant visitors to your patio will stop and ask about, because they have never seen anything quite like it. Plant number 9, ice plant. I am ending with this one because it solves a very specific container problem. Pots that sit in full sun against a south-facing wall, or on a hot concrete patio, can become ovens in July and August. Most plants struggle in that reflected heat. Ice plant thrives in it. Ice plant is a succulent perennial with fleshy green leaves that spread horizontally and produce neon pink daisy-like flowers from late spring through summer. The blooms open in full sun and close in shade and at night, creating a dynamic that changes throughout the day. The variety I recommend is Cooper's ice plant. It stays low about 4 to 6 inches tall and spreads to about 2 feet, spilling over the rim of the pot. Hardy in zones 6 through 10, it handles drought, heat and poor soil without complaint. The only thing that kills ice plant is winter wet. A container with fast-draining soil and a sheltered location against a house wall is ideal. The flowers are so intensely colored they almost look artificial, and they attract bees and butterflies throughout the growing season. One plant in a wide, shallow container creates a carpet of color that needs almost nothing from you. Here is what I want you to do this weekend. Walk out to your patio or your porch or wherever your containers sit and look at them honestly. If there is a pot out there with a plant that has been struggling since June, a plant you have been coaxing and feeding and worrying over all season, ask yourself one question. Is that plant struggling because you did something wrong? Or is it struggling because it was never meant to live in a pot in the first place? Because those are two completely different problems. One you can fix by changing your habits. The other you can only fix by changing the plant. And the second one is not your fault. It was just never explained to you. Now you have 9 plants that actually want the life a container offers. The sharp drainage, the confined roots, the soil that warms up fast in spring and breathes. They are not tolerating the pot, they are using it. That is what no-maintenance container gardening actually looks like. Not finding plants you can neglect, finding plants that never needed you in the first place. If this shifted how you think about what belongs in your pots, share it with someone who is still blaming themselves for plants that were never going to make it. Tell me in the comments which plant surprised you the most. Drop your zone while you are there. Subscribe to Timeless Harvest. We do not do guilt. We do plants that earn their keep.